Hello and welcome to tonight's edition of Business Edition of PM Express. And the bone of contention this evening, benchmark value reduction. On one side, we have an argument that says, you know what, it's going to increase volumes at the ports, it's going to increase revenue in the medium to long run. And on the other part, we have an argument that says it's going to flood our market with goods, and it's going to make local industries uncompetitive, and it's going to kill off our local industries. At a time when our country says we're moving from taxation to production, some argue that this is counterintuitive. Some argue that no, this is not. It's going to rather help in making our ports more attractive to other traders, other businesses, and at the same time, it's going to increase revenue. That's the bone of contention tonight. We have one hand that says, yes, this benchmark value reduction is good, and one hand that says, no, this is not good, and it's going to affect us. That's the issue we're going to thrash out tonight on Business Edition of PM Express. But first, we have to look at where we've come from with these port reforms, broadly put, of which the benchmark value is just a portion. Other parts were announced. So we're going to hear from His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Bawumia, and then we'll listen to some reactions from people when they first heard this news on the port reform, specifically the benchmark value reduction. So now let's listen to His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana.
To reduce the incidence of smuggling and enhance revenue, the benchmark delivery values of imports will be reduced by 50%. This, however, for vehicles, the reduction will be 30%. This is because vehicles already attract an amount of depreciation, which if you factor it in, it will take you closer to the 50%. This will be effective from tomorrow. It looks like there's a lot of support for this policy. We are doing this because we expect that you will see higher volumes coming into Ghana and we will make higher revenue. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the physical examination of containers in the port is to reduce, the benchmark we've given customs is to reduce the physical examination of containers at the port from 90% currently to 10%.
So His Excellency, the Vice President, at the town hall meeting of the economic management team, and you saw that this was met with a lot of applause, a lot of shouts, people were happy. Reduction of benchmark values by 50% on goods, and then for vehicles by 30%. So let's gauge some of the reactions that we caught. My colleague Charles Aite put this together for us.
Now, second-hand car dealers who supply about 70% of vehicles used in Ghana have been paying huge sums of cash for high import duties. I visited the car sales point at Tesano in Accra. George Jomo is a dealer who's been in the business for 25 years. He says the 30% cut in import duties for vehicles, as announced by the finance minister, will drastically lower the cost of second-hand vehicles in the country.
100%. It will come down a lot. And if it come down, it will go against it, but still, I think it's not bad. So many people will benefit from it. So I'm happy for that.
Anita Asiedo is another car dealer who is expecting a shipment to arrive within 24 hours. She's elated the 30% slash could save her almost 50,000 cedis. She, as well as her business partner, spoke to Joy Business.
Our ship got landed just Monday, and we were preparing to pay about 42,000, but my agent told me there's a reduction of over 30%, so that's going back to about 320. So it's a party because it's unbelievable. Unless I see, but I believe, because so far as it's everywhere, then it means it's a good news. So we have to jubilate for that. Cars are going to be cheap. We pray it continues. The duty is the reason why cars are expensive. So if it's being reduced, when a car is about 1.3 billion, it's going to drop down. Let's say a Highlander 2015 is going for 1.5, and now the duty that was about 700 million is being dropped to about 600 or 570. When you come, it will take effect.
The duty plus the dollar rate, if you combine those two, is killing business. So today we have here a good news that one has come down for us. We jubilate it.
Some are quoting 10% reduction, others are even quoting 20% reduction. It is very clear that this assurance by the Vice President has really caught on well with car dealers across the country, especially those here at Tesano in Accra. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
So that was a lovely report put together by my colleague Charles Aite. Initially, when this announcement was made, and you could see the happiness in the ladies' submissions. So my guest for tonight, one hand, we have the Ghana Union Traders Association, represented by Dr. Joseph Obeng. He's their president. And on the other hand, we have the CEO of the AGI, that's the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Twum-Akwaboah. We are going to thrash it out tonight. Is the benchmark value reduction a panacea to large volumes, increasing volumes and increasing revenue? Or is it going to stifle and stymie the local industries in Ghana's fledgling economy? Stay tuned. Right, thanks for staying with us, and this is the business edition of PM Express, and my name is Philip Nanfuri. So benchmark value reduction, yes, met with a lot of excitement. On the 3rd of April, when the Vice President announced this at the Economic Management Town Hall meeting, the room was visible with excitement, and I was there and I saw Dr. Joseph Obeng visibly excited. Yet down the line, we see that there's a lot of debates. One end says this is good, one end says this is bad. Why? Is it really going to stifle our local industries? And are imports really going to come in large volumes that's going to destroy the markets? Some argue our city is going to depreciate further because we're now open to more imports. Is that the case? We'll find out tonight. So my guest, first one, Dr. Joseph Obeng, he's the president of the Ghana Union Traders Association, GUTA. And second guest, CEO of AGI, Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Twum-Akwaboah. So I'll start with Dr. Joseph Obeng, because obviously he's on the happy side of this argument. Doc, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, I mean, this, like the Vice President said, was done. It's been implemented. I'm sure you're excited. Yet, it's been met with a lot of criticism. They say imports are going to flood our markets. Cedi is going to depreciate further. And now you've had your exchange rate peg also. So more excitement for you. It seems Christmas came early for you.
Yeah.
Why so much apprehension, particularly on excessive importation? Why?
Thank you very much. We are overly excited. And this is about the best thing that could ever happen to this country. We are bracing ourselves up for brisk business in the coming years. We are going to make Ghana the hub of business in the sub-region. We are going to shore up our forex because our neighbors are also going to troop in to buy goods from us, unlike before when we were taking all the forex to our neighboring countries to buy goods. So it is very good news for us, and we appreciate what the government has done. So for the importation aspect, the excessive importation, I do not even understand, because it's necessary. And we have export to contend with, and we will do everything to help export to boom. And in our part, we also do our legitimate business of import to help bridge up the gap of the services that have been given us, the advantages that otherwise was not here. people being handed with high prices of goods and all that. So we'll bring, the demand is there. Once we are entering into the middle income grouping, it means that demand and taste will be developed, and no one can restrict the choice regarding taste, regarding cost and the cost and quality. And so whatever we bring is as a result of the demand of it, the service that we provide for our people, and there's room for it. They say that we do excessive importation as against manufacturing. There's a thin line between manufacturing and importation. The so-called manufacturing entities, apart from the 1D, 1F that is being introduced by the government, that will be the real semblance of manufacturing. Because there it is going to dwell on the raw material base of the district. We don't have anything like manufacturing because the input of manufacturing, about 90% of it are being imported. So there's a clear thin line here. That's why they cannot, even as manufacturers, give us the benefits of manufacturing here. But we are able even to travel and bring goods from afar and then still compete with them. What is the question mark here? It means that they are doing the same importation as we are doing, like somebody who prefers himself as a manufacturer of cylinders. And then he has brought imported cylinders and then covered the face with the raw materials. It means that he has no competitive edge of manufacturing, but he is pretending to manufacture. We have to dwell on the areas that we have competitive edge. We are in a global world. So even localization of industry makes some products even cheaper. So if we do the due diligences and all that, what has to happen is that if you are doing real manufacturing, then because you are doing it here, your price should necessarily be cheaper than someone who have imported. If you do not have that edge, then you don't have any business of even manufacturing. And this is what we are contending with.
Okay, so you are arguing that the demand for these goods is from within the economy and you are providing a service. You also argue that our forex will go up because businesses will come or troop into our ports because of this reduction in the benchmark value. And that even within the manufacturing space, there are some people that even bring in some goods instead of producing them here.
That's their stock in trade. Most of them, they are stock in trade. And I've said this even before the vice president at economic management team before. So there's a thin line between the so-called manufacturing and the importation. Okay. And when we are able to import now again, because importation was on the descendancy, it was declining so fast. And so maybe the advice of Ghana Revenue and all that, and then through our efforts, through the Council of State, who prevailed upon, a good sense prevailed. And then now we are doing this. You understand?
Okay.
And so revenue is actually going to show up because a tax that is not affordable, the compliance level is nil, virtually not there. And so now, once the tax is very affordable, people are going to do their legitimate business and it will show up the revenue.
Okay.
Also. Yeah.
Seth.
Yes.
Dr. Obeng argues that, you know what, this demand for their goods, they are just providing a service. People from within the economy, myself, my team, we're the ones who are demanding it. They are providing the service. If we do this, as we have done, this reduction in the benchmark values, Forex will go up, all things being equal, because volumes are going to go up. Government revenue is also going to go up. He advances positive arguments from his side. Yet from your side, you are unhappy, obviously, for some reasons. Why?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. It's interesting Dr. Obeng is defining manufacturing in his own way, and he says that once we import certain inputs, and he's talking of about 90% of the inputs being imported, so once you import large volumes of the inputs, then it's not manufacturing. I don't think that is how you define manufacturing. No country, or most businesses in other countries, they don't do 100% manufacturing. If you are talking of car assembling plants, for example, they import the parts and then they assemble. So nobody does 100% manufacturing. Only a few companies does that. So the fact that you are importing some inputs does not mean that you are not manufacturing. Once there is value addition, and there are different percentages that we apply. If you are doing 50% value addition, it is manufacturing, and you are employing more people to do that, and that is development. So if you're saying that because you are importing some of your inputs, it is not manufacturing, I don't think that is actually the case. Now, on the issue of the benchmarks, even before the benchmark, I think that in principle, the spirit behind this, and I think the Vice President explained it, that we are losing so much cargo. The cargoes are going through other ports because we are not being competitive. And therefore, we needed to reduce our cost of operations at the ports, so that to encourage people to bring it. And indeed, we welcome that because, as he said, well, manufacturers also import. They import the raw materials. And therefore, if cost of clearing your goods and operations at the port is improved, of course, it's also going to help them. And I think there are a number of measures the Vice President mentioned, which we believe can help reduce this. First, he mentioned the fact that the various agencies, the fees that the various agencies are charging, they are going to review it. I think that is done to make our ports more competitive. Some are charging ad valorem, that's a percentage of whatever value you bring. Maybe that is problematic because it makes it very expensive. You can have a flat rate. So when they review it and they reduce those charges, it will help reduce the cost of clearing your goods. The other aspect is that Vice President also mentioned that we are going to reduce the inspection, the fiscal inspection, from 90-something% to about 10%. It's also help facilitate the clearing process and make things easy. They've introduced the paperless, which of course is also facilitating the process. It reduces the amount of time you spend in clearing. So when you do all this, you're actually making our ports more competitive. And why shouldn't we encourage it? AGI welcomes that. The problem we have, though, is the benchmark value reduction. I think that we need to really think through very well, because if we're saying that we are applying 50% reduction on all goods, it's problematic, because if you even look at the CET have different tariff.
And then CET meaning for the viewers and listeners,
yes,
please.
The common external tariff, which is applied by all ECOWAS countries, because we've come together as one block and we are applying the same rates everywhere. The CET has different tariff bands. Why did they have that? They are taking into account certain industries within the sub-region that we have some local capacity to produce those products, and therefore they need to be protected a bit. There are those that we don't have local capacity at all, and therefore if you raise the tax so much, you are only making the products expensive in your market. So they took all this into account in having the tariff bands. Okay, so if that is the case, it means the spirit behind it is that where there is a possibility to encourage local production, go ahead and encourage it. Where there is a possibility to make things cheaper for your people, go ahead and do it. But when you have a flat percentage reduction, it means you are not taking this into account. And that's where we have a problem. Much as we import a lot, and it's also the reason why we should encourage local production, because if you continue to import, then you might as well say, forget about manufacturing. Okay? So if you reduce all these values by 50%, it is definitely going to make the imports much cheaper than local production. And the implication is that those who are producing, who are making the business of manufacturing in the country and are employing our people, they will all turn into trading. And if you all become traders, you can imagine the impact on our economy. Okay?
Okay. Dr. Obeng, I'll come to you. I saw you shaking your head, but I'll come to you. Let me just quickly get something from Seth. So you are not opposed to a reduction in the benchmark values. You just don't want a blanket reduction of goods, of all the goods. Certain ones should have a reduction. Certain ones should have more of like a stay where they are, so that if a company can produce that within, then, correct me if I'm wrong, then That's one's benchmark value. So for example, if you need a glass to produce something and its benchmark value has been reduced, you rather see this benchmark value up so that it discourages import and then we within can produce it. Is that right?
Exactly so. And let me explain a little bit here.
Okay.
You see, what is the basis for the 50% reduction? Why shouldn't it be 60%? Why shouldn't it be 40%? Why not 25 or 20? There must be a basis. So if you do the analysis, you will see which products you should apply what percentage. But having a general percentage application, you have a problem. Because, as I said, there are some products that you have local capacity to produce. And therefore, and every country does this, you need to somehow protect your infant industries so that they become competitive in the market. So you don't apply one rate across board. We need to look at it, do the thorough analysis, pick which products you need to apply a certain percentage, have those variations, and then when you're applying, it makes more
sense from the industrial perspective.
Exactly.
Dr. Obeng, he says he's not against the reduction in the benchmark values, but certain products, certain goods, we should review it so that if there's capacity to produce locally, then we can produce locally. If there's no capacity, then fine, we can bring it. Because he alluded to the fact that obviously manufacturers bring some items in to aid in their process of churning and bring it out. So there's no problem here, is there?
Yeah. The president came out to condemn this. That's why I was not happy in the first place. But whatever they are saying, we have been pampering manufacturing all this time.
Why?
I'm coming. I will come to that. The benchmark value reduction does not limit to finished goods only. It goes right down to raw materials. So the status quo remains the same. So what is the issue here that you are raising? Should we go back to the former, or should we remain where we all have the same advantage? It's not that we are even at edge over you in terms of the reduction. They reduced even the values of your raw materials. So what are you complaining about? If simply you want you want importation to be banned, then you should be bold and tell government that ban importation. But can it be done? It can be done, because importation is very necessary. It is only helping what we locally generate, and it has been helping us. Most of the things, even here in this room, we can't produce it here. So the fact that we have to import is as well. And don't forget that we have been there before. We were producing virtually everything. We were producing car tires, we were producing matches, even the toothpick that always they use as reference, we have been producing. We produce through up to shoes, candles, plastic items and all that. Some of them are making inroads. Even especially plastic and disposables and all that, even now, they are making inroads. Those companies that are not doing their due diligences and working well, those are the ones, the manufacturers who are always complaining. Because you have to see where you have the edge, even internationally. It's not that you have to manufacture and then we have to manufacture everything. It's not possible that we must manufacture everything. In the past, we were manufacturing virtually everything, and were we able to sustain ourselves? We did not sustain ourselves. Why? Probably because when it comes to the international market and all that, it was not doing well. So we have to still bring it so that to service the generality of our consuming public in terms of prices and quality.
So, Dr. Obeng, if I get you right, your point is competitive advantage or comparative advantage. We can't produce everything here, or we can't manufacture everything here. So there's a lot of hue and cry about nothing. Some of the things can be done here. Exactly. We should do them.
Exactly.
So we should allow imports to come in, because even as you argued, raw materials also fall in this bracket of bench value reduction.
Exactly.
Seth, and the list, this is the question I know you are not the one who proposed this policy, but is there a list of the items specifically? If today AGI was called, say, come to the EMT, Economic Management Team, come and give us, do you have that list of items that you would want out of this 50% reduction?
We know the products we produce in this country, and therefore coming out with the list is not a difficult
It's not a
thing.
problem for you.
And we know the products that we are adding so much value, and therefore we should be able to work on that. But let me explain something.
Okay.
He's talking about the fact that raw materials are also part of the benchmark values. Bear in mind that under the CET, the common external tariffs, some of the raw materials are zero rated. So when you apply that 50%, what is the effect? It has no effect. Most raw materials, those that are not zero rated, are 5%. When you apply that 50% reduction, what does it mean? It's insignificant to the local manufacturers. But for the importers, that 50% reduction is huge. So you cannot say that it applies to raw materials and therefore there's nothing that you're
let me before I forget. Yeah.
Let him land, please. Yeah. Let him land, please.
So that's the other thing. Then he's talking about the fact that we can't produce everything and therefore we should import. I haven't said that we shouldn't import anything at all.
Yes,
and I even that's the point I've made. But the products that we have competitive advantage in producing it, why not? Bear in mind that we operate in a peculiar manufacturing environment. I'm surprised he's talking as if manufacturing is so easy and therefore I said you should be able to produce and compete. It doesn't work like that. Most countries somehow protect their manufacturing a little bit. We
see Donald Trump doing in America.
Exactly. Here you are producing with the electricity cost of about 15% per kilowatt hour. China, they pay 3 to 4%. So your cost of production is very high. You are borrowing at 25-30% to import machines. You don't even get access to medium to long-term capital. So your cost of production is very high. How can you be competitive? If you say manufacturing is not important, then let's forgo it. Meanwhile, government has policy to support industrialization, and we support it. Recently, they've been talking about car assembling plants and all that. Yeah. So if your policy is to support manufacturing and support industrialization, another policy is taking away the competitiveness of the manufacturing sector, then there's policy inconsistency. And I think that has to be made clear.
Dr. Obeng, quickly, then I'll take a break.
You see, you said most of the items are zero rated. Even
I didn't say most.
Excuse me.
I said some.
Let him land.
Okay. You're using this as a reference. And then you are being so supported to the extent that you pay nothing, and we were paying cumulatively over 52% to 67%, and we were still able, even at that era, able to bring goods and compete with a company that do not pay anything, zero. That's what I'm talking about. Pricing. What are they doing to transfer the benefits to us? The benefits of this, the subventions that government give to them, the credit, reduced credits that we give to them, subsidized credits that we give to them, and all that. Please, you are a company that you are being supported in every aspect. What support again? When a government has given you 0% of duty of your product, and you could not be in competition, you could not transfer this benefit to the importing communities. Don't forget that the importers, we buy the products that they produce. They don't have shops. We buy all the goods, and then the shortfall is what we import. And those that are expensive, we will never buy, whether it's made in Ghana or elsewhere, because we are business people. We wouldn't buy something that has been overpriced. And then they say, I've overpriced it, I'm made in Ghana, please stop these people from bringing it. Let me tell you, most of the raw material costs are universal. So the price that is given is for every country. Mm-hmm. And then the FOB price.
FOB for the viewers, please, again.
FOB, free on board.
Okay.
So the FOB price in Turkey, where I go and buy, this is the price they give me. So it should not necessarily be the same price as should be given to me in Ghana. But I will go and get this price about half the price being given to me here. And no rational businessman will do that. Most of we, the importers, he said that manufacturing is not simple. Yes, manufacturing is very simple. Most of us are graduating into it. Most of the importing community are actually manufacturers. And they have done better due diligences, and it will surprise you to do. I mentioned disposables come to Okanshi and all that. We are manufacturing ourselves. The toothpaste that we've been talking about, we do the right due diligences because we have shopped around the globe and we know that, okay, when we produce this and the price is good, then we have to produce it. We know the volumes also, and then we sell. But you can't come because for want of making a manufacturing company, you say it's not easy, so give me some time to recoup, give me this, and then stop people from importing. That's too simplistic, and we won't take that.
Okay. I don't think Seth said he won't stop anybody from importing, but he makes an argument that apart from some of these issues, there are other costs that are tied into manufacturing that seems to erode what you want to do, if I'm right. Yes, but Seth, hold on for me. We'll take a quick break right now. When we get back, we'll continue this conversation. It's very interesting, I must admit. This is the business edition of PM Express. My name is Philip Namfuri, and my guest, Dr. Joseph Obeng, President of GUTA, and Seth Twum-Akwaboah, CEO of AGI. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the business edition of PM Express. My name is Philip Namfuri, and before we went to the break, the discussion was too interesting. I mean, Dr. Joseph Obeng is very, very passionate, and we have Seth very cool, very relaxed, taking it in, and I think it's informing and educating all of us that the different positions when it comes to economic matters, and trade moves the economy. You see containers, you see ships moving around the world, you talk about straits and everything, and you realize that it's really part. At the same time, industrialization also very key. And Ghana has had a very checkered history when it comes to industrialization, no doubt. But during the discussion before the break, there was a mention of credit. And Seth was making an argument that sometimes the borrowing costs feeds into their manufacturing or industrialization drive and seems to stymie or stifle their growth and development. We put together an infographic from the Bank of Ghana's banking sector report. And it looked at where money is going to in the economy. And you realize that the bulk of the funds are going to commerce and finance sectors, about 24.5%. And very low amounts of funds are going to agric, forestry, and fishing, and manufacturing and construction. Now, if you look at the data properly, and we'll get that for you, you will see that if you follow Dr. Obeng's argument, he's talking about demand from within. That's what we want. And that's what they are providing as service. And you see that the banks are also tailoring their loans to that side. 24% out of 36 billion Ghana cedis worth of loans went to the commerce and finance. And commerce is just trading, buying and selling. A very low amount of it went to the manufacturing part of things. That's set side, about 10.1%, if I'm right. And you realize that if you listen to all the discussions, you realize that money is going to where it's demanded. So, Seth, if the banks see that manufacturing is not very profitable, and you see that commerce and finance is what is moving the markets, and they move the money there, then Dr. Joseph Obeng's points are all true.
Well, if that's what we want in the country, if we want to all become traders, then let us do so. Let that be the policy, and say that everybody should go into trading. And indeed, some of the manufacturers could be bigger traders. They have more capacity to trade than some of our traders as well. And he made a point, and the analysis you just gave, contradicts what he said. He said manufacturing is giving all the credit, they're giving the subsidies. When you go
from
to
the
a
government
bank,
side, I would assume.
So what governments have? I think you should be very specific. Have you seen a manufacturer going to a bank and being given a lower credit, whether it's a government bank or private bank or whatever it is?
The credit is traditionally almost high.
Exactly. It's high for everybody. Indeed, it is even easier for traders to get access to funding from various sources. And the statistics you just gave confirms that. So manufacturing is because it's more difficult, it's even more difficult to get access to credit. And bear in mind that manufacturing credit is also different from typical traders' credit. You need medium to long-term capital to buy the machines and all that. So if it's very expensive, it's even more biting. So it makes manufacturing very difficult. He mentioned that, they import whatever difference it is that we have between the local manufacturing and then what the market demands. I don't think that is the case. On the contrary, we are importing so much that we are unable to produce to satisfy the market. It's the other way around. So if we make that much effort to produce locally, then we can reduce the import. It cannot be the other way around. If you import so much, you are actually denying the manufacturers from supplying the market. he said we should work together. And that's obviously the point. We should work together. We were expecting that our traders, should also buy from the local manufacturers. But don't forget that the local manufacturers have challenges. It's very interesting to hear from him that the traders are also into manufacturing. Then why aren't they doing more of the manufacturing? If indeed you are also manufacturing, and then you are also saying that even within your area you are producing toothpick, you are producing so many things, why are you not doing more of that? And we are importing. Manufacturing is not for a set of people within the country. It's for me and him and for everybody. If manufacturing is that profitable, why are you not doing more manufacturing? And we are doing more trading. So clearly, I think what he's saying is inconsistent with the reality on the ground.
Okay. Dr. Obeng, I'm sure you were arguing, not to put words in your mouth, that their subventions and their aid comes from the government side. Because I remember last year or so, government announced this fund to help resuscitate some of these companies. But from the business side of things, from commercial banking, from universal banks, they are denied a lot of the credit. And your part of the economy, your part of the business seems to get a lot of it. He makes a point that you guys, that's the traders, should buy more from the local manufacturers. Is that the case on the ground, that the traders are not really purchasing and consuming what is produced locally?
It's very pathetic. Let me tell you, they had the opportunity, we were buying everything from them. And these guys, when they had something like monopolistic markets and all that, they have to give distributorship to their cronies. Sometimes you have to queue before you get the goods. During the year 2000, they imposed 20% on essential commodities, and then some of our people have to look within and buy from the local manufacturers. You go and give them an order for 40-liter container, and it took 6 months to produce. They haven't prepared themselves for anything. Look, he is saying that manufacturing, as they are doing, is not profitable. You see? So no bank of its worth, the integrity, because every bank look at the integrity.
Hold on.
Excuse me. That's what you said, that what you are doing is not profitable, and then you are not making your... Excuse me.
Seth, hold on.
What did you say?
Hold on.
And so if a bank come and survey, a commercial bank, and survey a manufacturing entity that does not know its worth, whether it is growing, whether it is profitable and all that, and in a bank doing its due diligences will not give you. If it come to me, the importer, and I'm able to convince him that this is the volumes that I do, this is my projection and all that, and you see that I'm credit worthy, he will give me. That's the bottom line, because we are, please,
please land.
Stop my phone a second.
Oh, please.
I had a lot to say.
Okay, Doc, please, go ahead.
It's okay.
Okay. Just to quickly correct that, Seth did not say they are not profitable. I think he alluded to the fact that they have challenges that makes them, on their path to profitability, difficult. I think that one we should
say. And that's what I'm saying. So it's part of the due diligences. It's part of the feasibility studies. So nobody is going to support a company that doesn't know its future. And so we have to be surcharged, that we don't have to import. Sometimes the cost differentials, what we get out there, is about 60% less than what we get here. And we have the duty to serve the Ghanaian to get the worth of his money. So we bring at a cheaper price to them. As against, it's not that we are against them. It's because we are even also frustrated getting the assets. Sometimes you do not even get little credit from them. It's easier to get 150 days suppliers credit from outside Asia, far away Asia, than getting 10 days credit from a local manufacturer. All these things put together, it means that they are not even giving us the opportunity even to work. We told government to institute an Exim Bank guarantee in the what we call tripod scheme, so that this money should be given to the industry, so that when we go and buy, they give us the credit and then we pay to the bank. So they will offload the money to the manufacturing entities. So we have been thinking, even in the right terms for them, it's only that they don't even come for us all. They always take us as some people. He was saying that we do not buy their goods. Who sell your goods for you? Do you have shops? We sell the goods. Every goods that they manufacture. And of course, we don't buy those that are not competitive. Those that are, because they are made in Ghana, we won't do that. And we will gradually all metamorphose and come into doing proper manufacturing. Most of us have put in their application into the 1D, 1F and all that. We know what we can do, but this is the breeding ground for us to also get our capital. Most of them were imported before. Thank you so much.
Okay, Seth, anything you want to respond to?
Oh, so many things. I really encourage him to come into manufacturing, and I believe when he comes there, he will appreciate what we are talking about. He says they are preparing. I think he's waiting too long. He should come quick and join the manufacturer so that he understands what is going on.
So what are you doing in there?
So I think you should appreciate that point. Yeah. We are mindful of the fact that we need to have a policy as a country. What do we want to have? Is it a free flow country where everybody can trade, import everything? It's a model. If you want to adapt that model, we go ahead with it. But if your model is that, you must have some manufacturing base, because it is clear, most countries that have developed have serious manufacturing base. So if that is the kind of development we want to have, then our policies should be aligned to that as well. So if government comes out with a policy that is supposed to support manufacturing, it is not for nothing. It is up to you also to take advantage of it. Government always talk about how do we turn our trade barons into industrial giants? How do we move people like him to become a manufacturer? It is not that simple. Some of the manufacturers today were once traders. They move into trading and then they move into manufacturing and then they realize the difficulties. But because it is so important for us as a developing country, for the job we want to create, for development and the innovation we want to have, manufacturing is key. And therefore, we should have a policy around it. And I think that if we do so, it's going to help us a great deal.
Okay. We now have the infograph that I was talking about. I want to just show you guys exactly where money from the commercial banks in Ghana as of December 2018 was going, just to put some flesh to our perspective. If you look at the top right corner, you see commerce and finance. Commerce is Dr. Obeng's part of the world. That they get 24.6% of the credits from commercial banks. In fact, they are the highest on the infograph. If you look just under that, you see manufacturing, they got about 10.9%. The next, services, 21.5%. Some will argue that our economy has been overtaken by the services industry from agriculture and industry. Some say we have leapfrogged from agriculture right straight to services, and we've bypassed Seth on the way. So we've gone from primary production, we've jumped industrial services, and we've gone to industrial, and we've gone to services. If you look at agri, forestry, and fishing, 4.7%. And you look at, for example, mining and quarrying, a very measly 3.2%. So that's just to put some perspective. And this data is from the Bank of Ghana in their January 2019 banking sector reports, just to put some flesh to the discussion we're having on credit. Seth, you have something to say on this, please?
Yeah, I mean, it's just confirming what we said earlier, that it is not the case that manufacturing is getting cheaper credit, and otherwise they would have accessed more of the credit. They are not getting it cheaper. And Dr. Obeng talked about local manufacturers not even giving suppliers credit and not giving them credit as traders. And they get it from the Asian countries or wherever they import from. Yeah. I think we should appreciate that we work under different environments. Those companies in those countries, where are they? How are they getting their own credit to do business? For which reason they can extend 150-day credit to you, and local manufacturers are unable to do so. Our local manufacturers, is clear from the statistics you showed that we are not even getting access to that much credit. So me myself, I'm not getting the credit. To what extent can I extend that credit to you? So already we have difficulty, and if we work together and arrange things properly, I'm sure we'll be, and I believe that they give them suppliers credit. There's some kind of arrangement that can be done to support that.
Okay, Dr. Obeng, if you can make a point, we are running down on time.
Yeah, we are not against local manufacturing. They have to know what they are doing and do it right, and attract the importers to buy from them. It doesn't make sense for me to travel as far Asia to buy when I know that I have something that is a competitive advantage to me. I will not even pay duty. I'll just buy from the shelves. They are overpricing themselves, the cost. Well, some of the companies that we go, the managers, a big, huge companies, and then the manager will be using Toyota Corolla and all that. You come here from A to Z, they are all Land Cruisers and all. They add up to the cost for me to pay, and they want me to patronize their goods. We have to do the things right. We support them. We ourselves, we are bracing ourselves up for manufacturing, and we do the proper due diligence, the proper feasibility, where we will not open our eyes to the banker and say that we are frustrated, we don't know what we are doing. That's what is happening here.
Okay,
so it's good for Mr. Obeng to use Land Cruiser, but it's not good for manufacturers to use that.
No, I'm saying I use it for example. You add them all to your production cost and all that.
Gentlemen,
the foreman, Land Cruiser, a board chairman, 2 Land Cruiser, then you add it to your cost.
Dr. Obeng, we won't buy it. In the spirit of Easter, are you guys willing to come to an agreement to make sure that both of you are met? GUTA, representing traders on one side, and industry, AGI. Are you guys willing to come together to fashion out something that will be both beneficial to both of you? And from AGI, who's not very happy with the current standing, because I know Dr. Obeng, Christmas has come for him already. He's already celebrating. Seth, what do you want to be addressed when it comes to this? And if that is addressed, how do both of you get onto the same page? Quickly for me in 1 minute and 1 minute.
I don't think we are in any way fighting at all. I think that we work together. We should complement each other's effort. But we should have a development strategy as a country. And if our strategy is that we are supporting manufacturing, and we always make reference to Japan and China and the rest. Japan years ago was having the same challenge, that people were not even patronizing their own product because they thought that it was inferior, they thought it was expensive, but they said we are going to patronize it regardless. So in the process, they expanded, they enjoyed economies of scale, so their production costs came down, and then they also looked at the business environment that they operate in. Eventually today, they are producing large volumes and they are exporting to our countries, and we are buying them, and we are happy. It is a process. We need to look at it. And therefore, if we consider manufacturing as key and as a strategic way of development, then our policies should be tailored to that. And our traders should be working in tandem with that. Today, he's excited, he's happy, but tomorrow, it will come back on him. Because, we are not going to create the jobs. We know traders don't create that much jobs. There's no doubt about it. Because you go to a small manufacturing plant, even if it's a garment, they're employing 200, 300 people. For a typical trader to employ 200, 300 people, do you know the volumes he has to bring to employ that money? Yeah. So it's a development strategy. And I think we have to look at it.
Dr. Obeng, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, importation should go side by side with manufacturing until we get there. Let's look at where we have the competitive edge. We are in a global village. Elsewhere, the raw material and the factors, localization of their industries and all that will enable a product to be cheaper. It does not necessarily mean that once Ghana wants to manufacture, we should manufacture that thing that is so cheaper elsewhere. Here, in that case, we will not go anywhere. So we will work hand in hand. They shouldn't always look at us. You see, the person, because when this announcement came and what came up following it, and then the press conference that they did against importation, that's why people might seem that I'm a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was in the news all over.
So this conversation will go on and on and on and on. And as you can see,
it's not fair.
I'm bringing the curtain down on tonight's edition of PM Express, the business edition. My name is Philip Manfuri, and my guest, as you can hear them laughing in the studio, Seth Twum-Akwaboah. He's the CEO of AGI, and Dr. Joseph Obeng, President of GUTA. Have a good evening.